And for my sample training curriculum outline, I decided to make it a customer service training outline. It starts off with the goal to master the work of customer service and become knowledgeable about the customer service industry. Audience, current / past office employees, and anyone willing to get started in the customer service industry. Experience required, none. Objectives, to dive into the industry of customer service and the study of the 4 principles of customer service, becoming personable, competent, convenient, and proactive, and also going over the differences between internal and external employees, customers, and mastering how to respond to customers, and learning advanced techniques from customer service professionals on how to recover from certain specific or negative customer interactions and advance your overall skill as a customer service employee. Duration, 3 days, 3 hours of instruction each day. Schedule, 8 o'clock a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Introductions and overview of learning objectives, 8:30 to 8:45 a.m. Watch instructional video, 8:45 to 10:30 a.m. Split into groups with instructors and learn techniques, 10:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. group discussion and conclusion. Material and resources needed is a working laptop or a tablet device, charger for device, notebook, notepad, and a pen and pencil. Mrs. Hooper also explained that at her company, besides the in-service training days her company has, she also uses online webinars to train her employees, where she sends them the webinar to complete, and they usually get tested on it and are given a certificate if they pass. Overall, with creating training curriculum outlines, it's important to be descriptive with the training that the person reading is going to receive, and make sure you're writing to the correct audience, and that you're creating that perception of value and painting the full picture as to what they're exactly going to learn and take from completing the training curriculum. Recommendations on how to enter the human resource industry. Mrs. Hooper provided some very helpful recommendations for entering the human resource industry and advice to consider before deciding to enter the HR industry. Some of that advice would be that you should only enter the human resource industry if you enjoy working with people, and that if you feel you can help to support them and that you can lead them in a positive way. You should really care for people and want to see them succeed. And although it is not required, she also recommends having an HR certificate and or an associate or bachelor's degree in human resources, or a degree in something business related, and that can be very useful in the industry of HR. Another recommendation she made was to get your HRCI certification and or your SHRM certification. Mrs. Hooper is actually in the process of attaining her SHRM certification and explained that it is an extensive process. It involves a 3-hour exam, but becoming certified in HR and HR management can be very valuable, and whether that be a degree or getting certified with your HRCI or SHRM, it all can be very valuable for career advancement and growth as an HR professional. Mrs. Hooper also explained to me that she feels that, especially with this industry, experience is just as important as, being certified or having a degree, because that's how you really learn how to work as an HR manager or director and become good at that job and see if you like it. And um, there's a lot of different jobs and duties for an HR professional, and it varies by companies and what they delegate to the HR person. So, like, learning if that's a job for you by uh, having experience and working at various different jobs is important. And it's also a good tip to master specific skills and uh, duties of an HR that are expected of an HR professional, because it will set you apart come uh, hiring time or promotion time, and it kind of just gives you a leg up. Challenges in the HR industry. It is important to remember that when you're working in the HR industry, you are working with people majority of the time. And the duties of an HR professional, like enforcing and regulating policy, can be perceived as black and white. And when you add people, it becomes gray. And with that, it's important to keep in mind that at the end of the day, people will be people. And they will make mistakes and they will lie and not take accountability. And as an HR professional, it is your job to help guide them and support them to make the right decisions and help them advance as employees. And it's important for you to be able to discipline them when need be. And you're also involved in the termination process a lot of the time with most companies. When I asked Mrs. Hooper about some of the biggest challenges she's faced as an HR director, she said by far the most difficult thing was having to discipline employees, and in some situations, having to determine whether or not an employee should be terminated. She explained to me a situation she had with a new employee who was working in that just got hired on to work in their daycare. And for the daycare, you need to have your STAR certification that is required by the state, and it allows you to work in a daycare center. And you have 2 weeks after the school year starts to complete the STAR certification and have it into the company. And this new hire didn't have her STAR certification, and when she went to Mrs. Hooper and asked for an extension, and Mrs. Hooper at first thought she was either slacking off or wasn't managing her time wisely, but after carefully listening and talking with this new employee, she realized that the employee had a learning disability, and taking the test was extremely difficult for her, and she couldn't do it in a certain environment. And so Mrs. Hooper worked with her, and they made a IEP for this employee, which is a individualized education program, so that she could properly take the test in an environment that tended to her needs. And with this situation, Mrs. Hooper really realized how important it is to listen to your employees and be actively listening and tending to their needs and concerns. And also just following protocol and going through everything by the book will lead to less issues when it comes to having to potentially discipline or terminate an employee, because with termination of an employee, you can also have legal issues and laws that come up. The employee could sue if they feel like the termination wasn't justified. So it's very important to go through all of the factors before making a big decision like that. I also read a book titled Conflict Management in the Workplace, and it had an intriguing chapter about building bridges rather than barriers with your employees, and explains that you should care for each employee individually and focus on their own needs, concerns, and feelings. As an HR manager or director, it is important to do your job to provide a safe and welcoming place for your employees to go to. For my conclusion, I wanted to say how valuable of an experience this was, and having the opportunity to conduct an interview with a real HR professional was so beneficial for me. And I learned about how rewarding a career in human resources can be if you're willing to become educated about employment law and are good with people. A big takeaway I learned is that to be a good HR manager or director, you have to work with your employees individually and on a personal level. You have to possess the ability to lead and influence others in a way that benefits them, your company, and you as an HR professional. And here are my references.